Okay, so there was a moment in my bookshelf tour where I said this.
These are actually just some recent books that I bought. I'm not going to do a book haul for these.
That was a lie. So right up front, before I get to the books, if you watch Mike's channel at all, he showed off a while back these 3D printed things that he had somebody on his Discord make him. I also did something similar. I'm going to show off some of my favorite things that he had made for me, which of course you got the Tolkien. Let me stop focusing on me. I'm not important. Tolkien symbol. Bam. We've got some Wheel of Time. We've got I Am the Reaper and Death is My Shadow, which of course is from Red Rising. We've got the Howler symbol. And of course, he made me a Kindle stand as well, also from Red Rising, Hail Reaper, because that is my favorite series that I've read this year. So, thank you to him. Again, that is Three Stooges on Mike's Discord is where you'll find him. I'll also leave a link down below to a site where you can find some of the works that he's done as well. So first up, we're starting with Fonda Lee's Jade City. And yes, A World of Ice and Fire is my book stand for today because I'm trying out this different setup and I want to be able to see the books without holding them or having them on my bookshelf because I'm not standing for this video. This is going well, isn't it? So Jade City, I've heard fantastic things about. Daniel Green has raved about it. Recently, Alan read it and raved about it. So this is kind of like a, I guess, low fantasy Sopranos almost. Warring families, kind of mafia feel to it. I'm going to let Alan explain it because he has an awesome review about it. So go check out the Library of Alexandria where he talks about it. And of course, Daniel talks about it and some others. So watch their reviews of it because I don't know what I'm talking about. As was shown in that bookshelf tour as well, Altered Carbon. So this is another sci-fi book that I'm eager to get to. I absolutely hate the now in Netflix series crap they put on it. But again, this is one that I don't actually know too much about. I understand that it is a Netflix series. Thanks. They'll probably cancel it after 2 seasons if it's not already canceled. These first few ones I will just briefly mention since I already talked about them slightly during the bookshelf tour. Something Wicked This Way Comes. Mike actually just did a review about this. Go check that out because, again, he's read this. I have not. So he is much better at talking about it than I am. Words are escaping me this evening. But this is more of like a, I guess, horror carnival comes to town. And there's some kind of like fantasy elements to it. But again, I'll let Mike talk about this one. Because his channel is doing Fright Fest 2020 and he's talking all things horror, so definitely check those videos out. And he just covered this one. And then, of course, I snagged my first Stephen King novels that I am going to begin my journey into his works with, and that is Salem's Lot, Pet Sematary, and The Institute. Salem's Lot, obviously, is a very well-known, I guess, vampire tale that he tells, and pretty much everything King I've been recommended super highly. People tell me to start all over the place with King. All I know is don't start with The Dark Tower, just because it's a massive series and it probably won't make sense. I did not want to start with The Stand or It, just because they are freaking massive, and I have no idea if I'm going to like his writing style, so I'm starting with some slightly smaller ones. The Institute sounds really cool, though. It kind of sounds like a retelling of Stranger Things, but he kind of already did the basis of Stranger Things with Firestarter, so I don't know, it's like a different variation on that. It sounds interesting. And then, of course, Pet Sematary, which everyone says is horribly messed up, and if you have kids, is going to destroy you, so that sounds fun. All right, these next couple ones weren't actually purchases, so I had somebody reach out to me after watching that video, I believe it was my bookshelf tour, because everybody knows I hate mass market paperbacks, and she noticed that I did not have any hardcovers for the Book of the Ancestor Trilogy, so she offered to trade me her Grey Sister and Holy Sister hardcovers for my mass markets, so I did that, and now I have, so I got those two from her, thank you very much, and then I did track down a hardcover of Red Sister, because apparently they're impossible to find, and unfortunately, it does not have a dust jacket. But that's okay, because these books actually look really awesome without the dust jacket, so I might just rock them without them, to be honest. That same viewer also sent me Black Leopard, Red Wolf, which is, I guess she got 2 copies somehow, and she was just like, hey, you want this? So I said, sure. Looked it up. Sounds cool. This sounds really up and dark. And the negative reviews on Goodreads at length talk about how messed up it is, and I'm more interested in reading it now because I feel like people are being facetious when they say that there's rape, torture, murder, all kinds of crap on literally every page of the book. I somehow doubt it's that extreme, but the more negative reviews I saw about it, the more I am interested in reading it because it sounds like a very almost nihilistic view of the world, and I haven't seen a whole lot of buzz about this. I don't know how old it is necessarily, but a Globe and Mail best book, whatever that means. All right, so continuing in order. I've had those for a little while. After that, because that was, most of that was like right after my bookshelf tour, I go to Costco a lot, and I never actually look at the books because they're always garbage, but I did happen to pick up The Brothers Grimm, which is 101 Fairy Tales, in this sort of same edition that I have Dracula in, where it's kind of like a leathery, not hardcover, it's bendable, it's like a flexible leather almost, mostly because it was $8 and it looks super cool, and I'll get to reading some of these at some point. And then I also came across To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, which was $17 at Costco, which is super awesome because this book is normally like $30. I don't know if it's had like a drastic price reduction or not, but normally the hardcovers don't go that cheap. So when I saw it, I pulled the trigger. I don't know when I'm going to get around to this, but I have heard mostly positive things about it. I believe it's already getting an adaptation that he is helping to write. So that's super cool. Good for him. I hope it goes better than Aragon. But I mean, all I know from Paolini, as most of us do, is his Aragon series, The Inheritance Cycle. I haven't read those books since they came out, and I was a teenager. I read Aragon, Eldest, and like half of Brissinger, and then for whatever reason just didn't keep going. And I don't even think it was because I didn't like the books, because at the time I loved them. I remember staying up until like 3 a.m. one night in bed reading Eldest and finishing it because I was so engaged in it. And then Horrible People adapted it into a movie that shouldn't ever be seen by anybody because it was god-awful, and I hate it. But I'm interested in seeing how he's grown as an author because he's no longer a child, obviously. He was, I believe, 16 when he started Aragon, and he was clearly very ambitious and lifting a lot from the fantasy genre. But honestly, what he did at such a young age, I don't think anybody should kind of dump on because it was very impressive for being that young and creating that kind of a world, your own language. I mean, yeah, he probably just directly rips off a lot of things from Lord of the Rings and other fantasy books that existed. But honestly, like when you're that young and you still are able to create your own story and change things enough that it's not just a direct ripoff, like that's pretty impressive. So I want to see his take on a traditional sci-fi tale. Okay, so the rest of these was actually a somewhat recent trip to a Barnes & Noble that I had not been to. And I found a next Michael Crichton novel, which is Sphere, which every Crichton fan has told me is one of his best. Now, I believe I saw the movie a long time ago. I don't remember it being very good. But the book I've heard is fantastic. And the last Crichton book I read was Andromeda Strain. I read that in a day, waiting for my son to be born in the hospital. I was up and down on it, mostly up on it. I thought it was pretty cool. But Sphere, I've heard, is better and more thrilling, a better sort of creepy feel. Basically, a spaceship, an alien ship essentially, is found in the Pacific Ocean. People go to investigate it. Shit goes crazy. That is a very surface level analysis of what this book is. But I will be interested to see how this one's written, simply because I feel like it's going to be more of a horror / thriller than Andromeda Strain was. I feel like that was much more of a scientific paper with some bits of thriller mixed in. So I wonder if the writing style is going to be exactly the same here, or if it is more of a true story to tell with more interesting characters and just a more interesting plot overall. but everyone that I've talked to raves about this book, so hopefully I enjoy it as well. Next up is actually Alex North's first book, which is The Whisper Man. I actually had his second book, I believe, on my top horror to read, and then I saw that this one actually came first. I don't know if they're a direct sequel to each other or not, but The Whisper Man sounds like a very creepy thriller. Essentially, there is a serial killer that I guess got to his victims by whispering at their windows and then abducting them and killing them, and he's supposedly gone. And after the main character loses his wife, him and his son move, I guess, to the town where this person had done these killings, and then kid disappears, and obviously it sounds like, oh, the Whisper Man's probably back, right? So this sounds like a very creepy tale. Definitely looking forward to this one. I've heard a ton of awesome things about Alex North as a writer, and I'm looking to get into more of that sort of thriller, psychological thriller, horror, whatever you want to call these books. There's a whole spectrum of horror books, but after reading and loving Chad Nicholas's Nightmare, I kind of get that this might be somewhat of a similar vibe, so I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one. Next up, because I continue to grow my sci-fi collection, is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now, this sounds like another fantastic and interesting sci-fi book. I am just getting my feet wet in the genre, mainly being the Red Rising series was my first introduction to sci-fi, which I feel like was a good base because it was very much fantasy at heart too. It was a solid blend. This sounds like it will be much more sci-fi forward. So according to the synopsis, the last remnants of the human race left the dying Earth. Desperate to find a new home, following their ancestors' star maps, they discovered the greatest treasure of the past age, a world terraformed and prepared for human life. So basically, they go to this new Eden. They think it's perfect for humanity. It's not. It's a pretty thick book, but honestly, from looking at it, the margins are pretty big. The text is rather large. So I feel like it will actually read a lot faster than the page count says it will. But definitely looking forward to some more awesome sci-fi because I have heard fantastic things about this. It's also won an Arthur C. Clarke Award, so I'm just going to pretend that I know what that is, and it's a good thing. Next up, I grabbed Blake Crouch's Dark Matter. Now, again, continuing with my sci-fi thriller mystery journey, which this states is a mind-blowing sci-fi / suspense / love story mashup. This actually sounds really interesting and might even be something I can get my wife to read. Essentially, though, it's a mind-bending thriller about choices, paths not taken, and how far we'll go to claim the lives we dream of. So what's cool, though, is the back is talking about the main character, Jason, wakes up, and he's surrounded by people in hazmat suits, and his life is not his life. He wakes up, he doesn't have his wife, his kids were never born, he doesn't know where he's at, but this almost sounds like a sort of like a bad nightmare that you have, where you wake up in your dream and just your entire life is different. You're not who you think you are. Your life is turned upside down, but it's not a dream. Like, that sounds trippy and thrilling, and I can't wait to read it. Now, if you've watched my recent vlog that I did for Frank Herbert's Dune, you know what these are. Or if you've talked to me in Discord, you know that I bought these. Boom. Frank Herbert's Dunes. Yeah, that's right. I called it Dunes. So I grabbed the first 6 books because they were on sale from Books A Million for 50% off. So these 6 books for $50, sign me up, please. I absolutely loved Dune. I did a vlog about it, talking about my early thoughts about to the midway point. Watch that if you haven't already. And I will be doing a full review next week. Now, there is a lot to talk about with Dune. I mean, just the more you sit down and think about it, or even read the appendices in the back of the book, just there was so much that Frank Herbert packed into this story, even from just the first book. Just the themes that he tackles, the politics, the religion, you know, what's right versus wrong, like, is there really a chosen one? Just everything that he tackles was done so well, and he realized the world of Arrakis phenomenally. And learning more about the guy, the fact that he was an ecologist and spent 5 years like creating this ecosystem that Arrakis has, leading up to, you know, the giant sandworms that people know about, but just to the moisture of the planet, how wind works, how the, you know, the sun works, just everything that he created. It's just so lush with care and finesse, and I've never seen anything like it. Now, granted, I have not read a lot of sci-fi, but the last time that I was convinced to read one of the best sci-fis ever, it wasn't. This one lived up to every expectation that I had. I had a feeling going in I was going to love it, and I absolutely did. It blew me away, met all my expectations and more. I honestly just want to soak in all the knowledge I can find about it. I definitely want to dive into all of Quinn's ideas videos. I'll have his channel linked down below if you've read anything of Dune. His channel is fantastic to check out. But I want to get through some of the other books before I dive in too deep because I don't want anything spoiled. Now, Dune functions perfectly well as a standalone, but there are obviously unknowns, unanswered questions, and you can see that the story will continue. So I'm going to read all of Frank Herbert's stuff, see if by book 6 I'm still into it, and if I am, I will give his sons a chance. Now, his sons, if I'm getting this correctly, have written 13 Dune-related books now. Prequels, sequels, side novels. They're milking it for all they can. I have no idea if any of it's good. I'm at least going to read Frank Herbert's stuff because that is what he created, and then I will go from there. Now, I have no feelings one way or another to his sons other than they have written twice as many books as their father in his universe, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Are his sons good at continuing the Dune saga, or are they dog shit? And of course, I saved the best for last. If you're in Discord with me, you know we talk at length about Brian Lee Durfee on a daily basis. We've got Durfee emojis. Those are right here. We love the guy. We love his channel. Go check him out. He is hilarious. He is knowledgeable. He has signed books, more signed books than you and I could ever think of. He's got an awesome library at his house. He is a super cool guy, and I am eager to read his books, hoping that the third one comes out somewhere in the near future, and I can hype that up and get to that as well. But he was awesome because I remember watching, I think he did a Malice review. It was either Malice or Valor. I think it was Malice. He had a video on his channel, okay, where he's talking about how he gets compared to John Gwynne a lot. So his books are like Malice, but more violent and more dense with information. That sounds awesome because I love The Faithful and Fallen. Yes, I'm going to get back to it. Stop it. He being the awesome guy that he is, and that is why I saved this for last because it's the best thing that I have here. He actually sent me The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, which are books 1 and 2 of the 5 Warrior Angels trilogy. And he was nice enough and awesome enough to sign them both, which is, I mean, unbelievable. Honestly, the fact that he reached out to me to send me these is truly special. To my fellow YouTuber, good luck with your videos. Your reviews rock. Cheers, Brian Lee Durfee. The guy has the most badass signature I've ever seen because Brian Lee Durfee spells out bleed, and that is just cool. So he signed these for me. Thank you so much, Brian, for sending me these. They're absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to actually read the books because are you serious? These things are thick. These are some thick boys. And I love me some epic fantasy. And the more I hear him talk about it, where there's just graphic violence and cussing, and that is right up my alley. As long as it's not fake swears like our man Sanderson likes to use. Love the books. Hate the fake swearing. I've also got the nice bookmark of his as well now. If it would focus. There it is. So thank you so much, Brian. You sent me these, so straight up, like, The Forgetting Moon is going to move right up the TBR. I will get to this way sooner than later. And hopefully book 3 is going well, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. That is going to wrap up the book haul. That was a lot of books. I talked for a while. I'm kind of thirsty. Unfortunately for me, and sorry if you lift truthers out there adore the character. I just read Dune, which was like the greatest sci-fi I've ever read and will probably remain that for a long, long time. I'm following it up with Edge Dancer because I want to read Oathbringer, and apparently she's important, and I just hate her. And her awesomeness. And her putting on her awesome. Isn't she awesome, guys? She's like a teenager that's awesome and eats food and talks with her mouth full. And isn't it funny? Isn't she awesome? All right, I'm starting to lose it, so I'm going to wrap this up. Like and subscribe, as always. I always want to say like and always subscribe. Like and always subscribe. Wouldn't that be good? Like and subscribe, as always, if you enjoy the content. Join me in Discord so we can continue the conversation. I love talking to everybody on a daily basis. It is one of the best things that I do every day. Join the Patreon as well if you do enjoy the content and you enjoy the channel. It does help me out and will lead to more book hauls. So, again, thank you all for watching. Until next time, keep reading.